Ports of Call adds quite a bit. This is still not, not a good motion to do. Ports of Call adds quite a bit when it comes to Starfinder. It also fills in the gap for something that was missing within the Starfinder universe for quite some time. But is this book something that you should feel proud of adding to your shelf? Let's talk about my review for Ports of Call. If we've never met before, my name's Nathaniel. Welcome to the table. I love role-playing games. I love the lore around role-playing games and talking about the worlds so that you can have a better and more in-depth experience at your game table. If that's something you're interested in, please hit the subscribe button with the bell notification, and if you enjoy Starfinder, hit that like button. What I'm going to do for this review is I'm going to cover the material that you can find in this book, at least at a high level. I'm going to give you my thoughts and impressions as we go along and any constructive feedback that I have as we go through this. And then at the end, I will give you my rating and what I think about Ports of Call. First off, what is Ports of Call? It is a supplement or an expansion to the Starfinder game setting, and it is specific to places that you would dock your ship. Think spaceports either in space or planet side. This book will give you a lot of travel options, places to visit, new NPCs, and even some new character builds, feats, spells, things of that nature. I will likely bring in the assistance of my good old pal Clippy, not Clippy, Mascaru. They might make an appearance and tell you a little bit about the locations that you can find within Ports of Call, and I think they have Mascaro would call them an assistant, Sprax. Hello, traveler. You are no doubt starstruck being in the presence of someone famous. Perhaps you've heard of my best-selling romance novel, Held in All Four Arms. It was amazing, if I do say so myself. No? Well, maybe you know of my Drifty Awards. I have 3. No? Well, no matter. I'll be seeing you soon. Hi, I'm Sprax. I have 2 Drifty Awards, and I can say, sorry, I was trying to help in 60 languages. Neat, huh? The first major change to the Starfinder universe comes in the form of drift lanes. Now, these came out of the Drift Crisis, which I have also reviewed. If you are unfamiliar with the drift, it is an alternate reality that was formed by the combination of 3 gods into one super artificial intelligence. This new god was called Triune. Triune created this new realm, and then they sent out a signal across the universe, letting everyone and their dog know how to get there. This was bad news for a single planet within the Pact Worlds known as Akaton, because they basically produced all the starship fuel that wasn't a drift engine. Now, people can access the drift with specialized engines, and they don't need the fuel from Akaton, for which it was famous, and thus there was an economic collapse of the entire planet. Travel within the drift can take a couple of weeks, depending on where you're going. The further out you go, the more time it's going to take, but traveling within the drift is not a 1-to-1 ratio. Just because you've moved 1,000 kilometers within the drift doesn't mean you've moved 1,000 kilometers in the material realm. It could be a lot more, it could be a lot less. It's a little bit wishy-washy. The new way to travel between 2 points without actually going into the drift is using a drift lane. These are essentially folds in the fabric of the reality of the drift. It's not exactly a wormhole, but it kind of functions like one, so it's best to think of it in terms of aesthetics like a wormhole, but it's not. And for the GMs out there, new drift lanes are being discovered all the time. Now, there's actually a couple of well-known drift lanes right now, one of them being the Gambler's Road. No, it doesn't take you to a giant casino, but you do kind of gamble with your life if you take this path. This drift lane opens up into a black hole, and it is said that there is an impossibly large planet on the event horizon of the black hole. Now, there are actually 4 new playable species when it comes to this Ports of Call book as well, so it does expand the player offering. The first of the 4 that we're going to talk about is the Giants. Giants are now canon when it comes to Starfinder, and I think that's great. Really high level here. They have 6 hit points because they're giants. They will also have a +2 to your strength and constitution modifiers and a -2 to the dexterity modifier. They get low light vision. They're good at throwing heavy things. They are also very skilled engineers and good at intimidation because, you know, they're big. And depending on what type of giant you are, there is also some different abilities for you. There's the fire giant, the hill giant, the slag giants? English people, cover your ears. And the stone giants. The Selamid, a protoplasm-bodied thing. The Selamid will get +2 to dexterity, +2 to constitution, and -2 to charisma for their ability score modifiers. They will also have 6 hit points. Selamids are considered to be an ooze type as well as a humanoid type. This is important for some skills and some spells, debuffs basically. They get blind sight vibration for 60 feet. They can take 10 on their athletic checks in 0 gravity because, you know, they're an ooze. On that ooze note, they're really good at escaping things and they don't have eyes, so they're kind of blind in that sense. See what I did there? The Thyr are giant windbags. They are literally buoyant gas in a suit. They have +2 intelligence, +2 wisdom, and -2 to strength because air. 2 hit points. These are not very tough creatures. They are also amorphous, gaseous. They have limited telepathy for 30 feet. They are also very gifted when it comes to language, and they like to consume fire. And a surprising last species that is now added to the plethora of Starfinder options, the Xulgath. They have +2 strength, +2 constitution, and -2 to their charisma. They have 4 hit points. They can decide to just pick a skill and make it their class skill. They are also gaseous, but in a different way. They can create a poison cloud around them. They also have blind sense, scent for 60 feet, and they can see in the dark because they have dark vision. Ports of Call will add a bunch of new downtime activities for players to engage in. One of my personal favorites is becoming an investor. Yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. You take money, you put it into your planetary stock market, and you see how well you do. The rulebook states that you can invest 1,000 to 100,000 credits, but again, this will be entirely up to your GM's discretion if they want to allow this for lesser amounts, for greater amounts. It's up to them. These credits are then tied up for 1 month within the stock market, and depending on your D100 roll, we'll see what happens to your money. There is a 15% chance that you could just lose it all, as does happen in the stock market. There's a 35% chance that you could lose half of it. There's a 25% chance that you will make a return of 10% on your investment. There's a 20% chance that you'll get your money back, plus another 50%. And you have a 5% chance to just straight up double it. I'm gonna do these next ones as a speed round, so here we go. There's also Pokedexing, religious meditation, being raised by wolves or whatever animal you have for a companion, being a professional chef. Cooking is a more noble profession than banking, but maybe don't tell Abadar I said that. Thanks, Mascaru. Sun Tzu your opponents, become a professional couch potato, a mechanical miracle worker, building an analog social network, a professional social media consumer, play with magic energies, go full on Scotty. Rest in peace, Scotty. You will always be the top engineer in my heart.
Computer. Hello, computer.
Provide therapy to the locals, clean freak, and summer school nerd. There is also a plethora of new options for your starship, weapons, frames, auxiliary systems, new ship slots, expansion bays. I should really know what they're called. If you enjoyed the starship customization when it comes to Starfinder, you're going to love some of these additions here. Side note here. If you were not a fan of the Starship options or the offering when it comes to Starfinder, you're not going to enjoy this. However, with all of these new options, Starfinder Enhanced, which is coming out later this year, promises to overhaul the mechanics and make the starships combat system, the whole thing, just a little bit more smoother. So if you're willing to give it another shot, maybe wait for Starfinder Enhanced. There's also a whole new subsystem for cargo hauling. You can make this your literal mission. Your players can just become cargo haulers, and there's ways to make sure they get paid, how to find cargo, how to transport that cargo, and figure all of that stuff out. Now, when it comes to character options, there are a few new things that you can do with your characters in terms of feats. These are more geared around strength and coming from the world of giants. There are 3 new Technomancer spells, 4 new Witch Warper and Mystic spells, and 1 new Precog spell. There are 2 new archetypes, the Expedition Chronicler, the Deep Delver. There is also some new Nanosight Nax. There is also an entire page dedicated to serums, magical serums that come from Golarion World, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later. There is also some new tech options in here for players, specifically around items. But if you were thinking about buying this solely for the player options, there are other books that I would recommend ahead of this one for player options, but if you've already got them all, this isn't going to hurt. This book also contains a lot of new information for NPCs, characters that you can integrate into your games and have your players meet. And now we get into the real meat and potatoes of Ports of Call, and likely the reason that you were wanting to get this in the first place. There are 10 fully developed new locations that you can use with your players. You can also use these either as part of an adventure or within your own sandbox games. I am also going to let Mascaru and Sprax explain the 10 new locations that you can visit. Welcome to Anduwar, a city of giants split between earth and sky, between local and off-worlder, consisting of 1.2 million citizens, 85% of which are giants. When traveling in Anduwar, it's always be careful. It's a very giant's playground! A what? A giant playground! It most certainly is not. Sure it is. Everything's huge. I had to shimmy up a table leg 8 feet high just to reach the seat of my chair this morning, and the table was even taller. I love climbing over everything. It's great fun. I see. I recommend extensive use of jetpack or magical flight to manage the city's grand scale. And I recommend sliding down the banners and hanging from the tourism office. Please don't. And the food! The helpings are so big! I took a bath in my soup this morning. Well, folks, don't do that. Giant chefs are easily offended, and soup is liable to scald. Repeat after me. Soup is not a hot tub. Sprax actually did mention one decent location to get you started at this port of call, the tourism office. Ha, Atuity! It's like 4 destinations in one. You've got the fancy Aslanti capital in the center, your cosmopolitan melting pot wrapped around that, your crime-ridden hellscape out there in the tangles, and a never-ending jungle full of things that want to eat you, set you on fire, paralyze you, jam seeds down your throat. Actually, that last one doesn't sound that bad. A beautiful place to visit, although I must say I've traveled all over near space and the Star Empires. You won't find a friendlier occupying forces anywhere. And with only 16,000 citizens, 52% of them being Aslanti, it's a quiet place to visit. Right? I've had my life saved by both an Aeon Guard and Veskarium Sergeant since I've been here. Back home, I bet you they just have me walk right in front of that hover bus. It's true, with the Vesk and the Aslanti both trying to win the locals to their side, they have a vested interest in being seen as helpful people wherever they can. I'm sure you would have been fine. You always are, somehow. To many, Drifter's End is the doorway to Absalom Station and subsequently the rest of the Pact Worlds. As such, it has become a melting pot of a myriad of cultures, both local and from outside the system. It is 200,000 citizens. It's certainly the only place on the station I could have found with a food cart that served authentic Ordenchart cuisine. And I've looked everywhere, even in the back of some of the restaurants' kitchens, in case they forgot they had some Jojo Colia peppers. As a Shirin, I appreciate the variety of choices in both food and entertainment that can be found within the neighborhood. You didn't find it overwhelming, even a little? No, I'm a seasoned traveler, accustomed to sampling a bevy of options during my trips. Oh, it shows. Golarion World! The cheeriest place in the universe, full of fun, thrills, and good eats, all enjoyed through the lens of history. I've never seen Lost Golarion with my own eyes, of course, but if living in the Inner Sea region was half as exciting as riding the Eye of Abednego water coaster, or watching the Lich of Tarbafon's hourly assault in the Siege of Absalom stunt spectacular, then I wish I had a time machine. Ask anyone who's been. A trip to Golarion World is just as good as a journey into the past. I enjoy delightful diversions, such as Golarion World, as much as the next Sheeran, but I have doubts about its historical authenticity. The New Horizons Luxury Retreats executive who planned the park is supposedly a history student, but they made clear some accommodations to entertain guests. But this isn't a disparagement. Far from it. Golarion World's expansive theme parks are chock full of rides, shops that are sure to bring a smile to your face. In fact, there's so much to see and do, you'll need to spend at least a week there. Just don't expect to come home with accurate knowledge about Lost Golarions past. Golarion World is populated by 370,000 attendees at any given time, the bulk of which are 66% human. Izadamar is a cultural wonder, a city built upon a military camp, built upon an ancient megacity. Truly magnificent. The care this city's architects give to restoring, rather than just rebuilding, its ancient buildings and sites shows the great care and attention that the Thyr. What? What are you talking about, Sprax? I'm just correcting you. It's a sign of fear, isn't it? That god of theirs, kitty cow or something? The child, the one that throws tantrums if you take his stuff. Nonsense, Sprax. Buildings of such beauty aren't built on fear, they're built on love. And Cadrical isn't an infant, he's a preserver, a protector, a lover of history, and just to be safe, never say that again. Izadamar has a population of 48,000 citizens, with a pretty wide variety of species. Oh boy, Jhavom! I love Jhavom! What's not to love? It's warm, safe, it's got some of the best holovid game rigs I've ever seen, and some of the canals are so steep, they're better than a ride at Golarion World. And here I was thinking you were going to be excited about the universities, the libraries, museums, contributing to an urban culture of advanced learning. Ew! Absolutely not. There's so much happening in Jhavom, I don't want to spend any time learning about what already happened. I want to see what's happening now. That at least makes perfect sense. The city of Jhavom is a shining jewel of wisdom, intelligence, set in the rainforests of the planet Pabak. Jhavom serves as the planet's capital, as well as the oldest and largest city of the slug-like Osharus. The city of Jhavom has 739,860 citizens, most of whom are the Osharu, approximately 62%. The last bastion of freedom on the outskirts of Islanti space exists completely outside of the yoke of the Empire, nurturing the rebel factions that make their home in Outpost Zed. In addition to all manner of specialty goods and equipment, merchant traders and information, as well as more unusual goods that are difficult and even dangerous to procure elsewhere. Are you talking about the underground market? In a settlement composed of a great many diverse cultures with no formally recognized laws, in which the word Sardat is more of an expletive than a title of respect, it only makes sense that trade would be less inhibited than what we're used to. This whole place is uninhibited. Smugglers run through Outpost Zed like food through a skitterwhelp. That's not the most pleasant analogy you've ever thought up. Sorry. I just get excited thinking about everything you can buy on Outpost Zed. It's like a buffet for guns, ammo, military surplus, cute souvenirs. Oh, but don't steal anything. Posters hate that. Yes, the outpost has 429,000 citizens at any given time, again with quite the variety of species. Precipice is aptly named, for it sits upon a literal cliff's edge while also facing down an uncertain future as a bastion of culture standing against forces that would quash it. I find the city's charm in its determination to stay alive, nay, to thrive, even in the face of such adversity. The only thing it really needs is a little sunlight to brighten everything up. which isn't necessary when 99% of the population requires little to no light to navigate. Oh, and there's the smells too. Can you say you've really lived without experiencing Xulgath scent graffiti firsthand? I think many people would say they've lived quite well without experiencing the overpowering cultural significance of smell to Xulgath society. It really is a shame that weaker noses simply miss out an entire aspect of their culture. This city's population is 63,000 citizens, with 80% of them being Xulgath. Shulgi has a small town feel, but with the amenities of a large city, it's a sprawling and diverse planner transit hub. Most visitors will only ever see a fraction of it. One frustrating aspect of this city is, when you hear about an exciting attraction, you cannot even find the neighborhood unless a local points you in the right way. You never know what you might discover walking around this town. I turned around and the neighborhood completely changed on me. More accurately, the neighborhood did not change. You did. And so you were able to perceive a different neighborhood that was already there. Most visitors who come here are so stuck in their mindsets that they only ever notice a few blocks of this town. They will see Shulgi Station, the blocks where they eat, sleep, shop, and never realize how much more there is. But getting lost here, it's an adventure. It's a dream come true. Or a nightmare. This is one town where it is easy to become literally lost in one's thoughts. The population of this station is around 200,000 citizens, with the largest population group being 29% Planner Scions. Uzodia, a beautiful city filled with a vast array of magical scholars and some of the best food in the galaxy. I truly enjoy that this world seems filled with academics of all types. Many have never met a Skittermander before. I think I answered more questions than I asked for a change. When we first touched down in Uzodia, I was taken by the absolute beauty of the spaceport, an impressive display of art, culture, in the middle of a place of engine grease and exhaust fumes. The ships even had themes based on either local animals or perhaps fauna from Golarion. A wonder and a marvel. And did you smell the food in the air? Meat cooked straight on the bone over open flames. Spiced hot vegetables and freshly baked bread. Oh, that bread. Yes, I am hungry just recalling it. The city has a population of 350,000. 70% of those are human. So at the beginning of this, I did mention that there was one thing that was missing from the Starfinder universe for years. If you've been a longtime fan, you probably know what I'm going to say. A star map. This is what has been missing from Starfinder for years. Fans of the system have created their own maps for this, but this is the first official canon representation of the universe, the galaxy of Starfinder. If you got your book digitally, there is a digital poster of this universe, and in the physical book, one of the nice touches here, there is also a physical copy of this map. It is a full-size poster. I just haven't put it up on my wall here. So, what's my rating for Ports of Call? Is this something that you should add to your shelves? Once again, Paizo has knocked this one out of the park. This is definitely a setting book. It's a location book. It's an adventure springboard kind of book. I will say this, if you are just looking at this for player options, do not get this book. However, if you are interested in the lore, having some more locations to give your players, or just something to add to your sandbox, this is definitely going to fill a need. For GMs looking to just expand their offering or their locations, this is fantastic. I give this book a 5 out of 5. When it comes to games like Starfinder, people will either lean into the science side of the game or the fantasy side of the game. I personally lean into the fantasy side, but if you are looking for your next Starfinder book, I would recommend this one for leaning into the technology side of things. Or if you lean more in towards the magic, you're going to want to take a look at this one. Thank you to all of my patrons for supporting me and the channel. All of your support, your ongoing support means the absolute world to me. My name's Nathaniel. Thanks for stopping by, everyone.